And yes, we are live. That wasn't too painful there, right?
No, yeah, that worked.
So I'll introduce you real quick to our peeps. This is Linda Dolan, right? I got your
Yep.
name right.
Hmm.
AKA Beetlejuice, not spelled the same way.
Yeah,
There's a little story behind that. But I got it right away when I read it the first time.
that's awesome because a lot of people don't, and they think my name is Betty, which is fine. And I've actually gone by it. I was actually recently in a cover band that they just started calling me Betty, and they actually called me Betty instead of Linda, and it stuck. So like I'll answer to it also. But yeah, a lot of people when they first message me on Instagram, they call me Betty because they don't know that it's Beetlejuice. So yeah.
It works. That's how, hey, things stick and that it becomes your brand. You never
Hmm.
know.
I mean,
But
Betty sounds rock and roll anyway, so
it does. Well,
yeah.
it's, yeah, Black Betty. You got to do that. You got to cover that song.
Oh yeah, I like that song. That's a good song.
But long story short, everyone knows where I'm from because I'm always pining for the city. I'm upstate
Mm.
and I hate it here. But I found you by accident. Just the algorithm actually worked on Instagram where I'm starting to be shown more and more, you know, unsigned indie artists. They're just, pushing my way. I saw the name, saw what you did, clicked. And that's what I was going to say to you a minute ago before we went live is I actually messaged you, I don't know, 6 months ago, last year. Everything's a blur this last year
Mm.
because I was doing a Women in Rock weekend. And again, I promote anyone, that happens to fit at that moment. And I said, I didn't get an answer yet, but I don't know if it was never read. So sometimes
Oh
you get so many, because I find things that I didn't see 6 months ago, same way.
yeah. Sometimes if it ends up in like somebody who I don't forget what the folder is called, but there's like general messages and then there's messages of people you've never
But
spoken to yet.
I think
And
same thing.
I forget to check those messages. And then when I eventually check them, then I try to get back to everybody.
Yeah, that's what I end up doing.
Yeah.
But anyway, you're from Staten Island, New York.
Yes, I am from Staten Island, born in Brooklyn, but uh, moved to Staten Island about when I was like 6. So yeah,
Same thing.
yeah.
Everybody's taken. My family is from Manhattan and Staten Island, and they all moved there in the 60s, and I was born and raised there. So but
Hmm.
when I saw that, I'm like, oh, I got to talk to her. Because
Yeah.
there's so many things that we could talk about that I think should be in common, but I'm curious to see if the answers are the same.
Oh, okay.
Well, the
There we
other
go.
was you're a rare breed because you're something that's been missing for a while, which is what I haven't been in touch with was the rock and roll down there. Even in
Yeah.
the city, I've been going down there a lot lately, and I see what's going on in Manhattan, in the Village, and stuff like that, and it's coming back. I'm seeing more and more signs of rock and roll popping up everywhere. But tell me, we'll start with your story and how you're a solo artist, correct?
Yes. So yeah, so I'm a solo artist. 90% of the stuff on my tracks is played by me. Um, for the current tracks. My debut album, I had other people playing because it might have ended up as a band, but it ended up as a solo artist. Like it just went in that direction. But since then, I basically play like 90% of the stuff. And then every once in a while, I'll have somebody do something extra that like I feel maybe the song needs, and it's something that I couldn't provide. So then I find somebody to do the parts that I feel someone could do better than me. But all of the vocals are me, all of the lyrics are me. The songs are written by me. It's just that, yeah, like if it's a part where I feel like it was something that someone else, I'm a bassist
Right.
mostly. So, and I can play everything a little bit, but like bass is like my thing.
Mhm.
So if it's something that I feel is a little bit beyond my scope, then I'll ask a friend to play it.
All right. So
So yeah.
the guitar, the guitar, most of the tracks is also mostly you. Drums, I think you said you told me you track them.
Yeah, so the drums are written from scratch, but I don't physically play drums. So I program them, but they're completely scratch written. So I'm not taking loops that are already pre-made and then using them. They're completely made from scratch by me. A couple of tracks do have a drummer on it. So up until COVID, I was using a drummer. And then when COVID hit, I didn't want to not produce music anymore. So then I started doing my own drums because I didn't want to just wait around for COVID to be over to see people again to put more music out. So that's when I started doing that. So everything kind of like organically ended up being me. So COVID kind of like made that happen. But my track Back in Time has my friend Damien playing on it, and Wishing Well has my friend Nick playing on it. So I was using other drummers up until then to make it, more live. But ever since COVID, it's just been me and my computer making the drums. So,
well, again, you're another example of how COVID has affected just music, let's say in general.
yeah.
Now you have a different story, because I've spoken with a lot of bands and artists, but your story is a little different. How you adapted and were able to continue.
Yeah,
and
that's
again, the good thing about, like, at least today, I'm more of a rock and roll purist kind of guy, where I believe in, I love live recording, and I'm a, real instruments kind of guy. But if this was 30, 40 years ago, you wouldn't have been able to do what you did.
that is true. That is definitely true. Yeah.
And a lot of all these other bands who were able to release music, after everyone, I call it getting over that first 3 months of shock last year. Holy shit, how the fuck did this happen? And all of a sudden we're, you guys not only can't, the shot, just not being able to play anywhere, everything's just shut down. Now what do we do? Thank God for the technology that a lot of the times I say was a curse became a blessing, because it never would have been able to continue. It kept all of you afloat and moving and writing and recording through all of this.
Yeah, I actually was saying that to myself, that like even closer than that long ago, even if what happened in the 90s, even the late 90s, it would have been, I don't know what people would have done. Like, because we didn't have internet in my house until like 2002. So wow. I know some people had it earlier, but my parents were late with that. So we didn't have internet until like about 2002. So like if it was 98, 97, I guess everybody would be playing outside or sitting in their yard, but like, I don't know. People wouldn't have been able to like handle it. I don't think at all.
I mean, look, the simple things like Pro Tools and being to record yourself at home. Like you got, I'm sure that's your studio. I would imagine where your workstation is, everything, right?
Yeah. So like I have my mix boards actually in front of me. So I don't own Pro Tools because I never spent the money on it yet. So what I do is I have GarageBand, and I actually put everything into GarageBand and I send it out to a recording engineer, who then I send it like track by track, and then he puts everything together in Pro Tools for me. So yeah.
Look what you just said right there. We could never have even imagined this. Like you said,
no.
25 years ago, really, if you dependent on who you are. Back then,
like, yeah, we would do our recording sessions on FaceTime, which you couldn't do back then either. So I would just be sitting there on FaceTime, like, okay, as we're mixing, like, oh, make that louder, like add my vocals there. Let's take this out of that. Like everything is in like a 2 or 3 hour FaceTime call where like, yeah, in the 90s, it would be harder to do that on like a regular phone because you're not seeing the screen in front of you. I mean, you could do it, but like, and then you'd probably have to like physically drive. I'd have to physically drive to his house, hand in the tracks, and then drive home.
If you were allowed out of your house at that time during the COVID, nightmare of last year.
Yeah, like
I mean, a lot of people didn't even want to like be near their own family, much less friends or bandmates.
We were very paranoid when it first started. Like, yeah, I remember I drove to my mom's house and she put food on the front porch and went back inside. It stood in front of the glass door, and then I went up to get the food and went back to my car. So yeah.
I wouldn't go to, my parents are up here too, and I wouldn't go to their house, because they're in their 70s. And I'm like, God
Yeah.
forbid I bring something there, that's how crazy it was.
And that's true. Yeah, we were uh what's bleaching, I couldn't think, we were bleaching the boxes from Amazon.
Yep.
My parents handed me like the Tupperware. I Lysol wiped the Tupperware. I was Lysol wiping the mailbox. Like I was, yeah, it was.
Well, I actually still have family down there, and they were telling me all the same. It was so much different in the city than it was up here. Like, I love coming down there, but I would never even thought of coming into the city unless it was in and out for business or something, like a few times. But there were no, pleasure trips into the city during the whole thing.
Yeah, I actually have not been to Manhattan yet. The last time I was in Manhattan was actually 2 weeks before the shutdown.
Wow.
So I haven't gone back yet. So yeah, I went out to eat. I was at a restaurant. Actually, the last like major thing I did was the Staten Island St. Patrick's Day parade. I went to the parade. Then I went to Manhattan after. I went to a restaurant. And then like the next week, everything was shut down.
Wow.
So it's like crazy. And I was like freaking out because I was like, oh, I was at the parade last week. I hope that I'm not sick. I mean, so
Everything, the things that go through your mind.
yeah.
Question everything. Did I wash I remember getting back in my truck or whatever and get home and go to eat something. Wait a minute, did I spray my hands with hand sanitizer? It was crazy.
Yeah, you start thinking like, and then it changed so much stuff because the convenience now of ordering Stop and Shop to your door.
It's going to be normal now.
Or like Target to my door. Yeah.
Yeah, changed everything. But this is something I've talked about a lot over the last 4 years because I started Keep Rock Alive, long story short, over someone I had accidentally met, a young girl, doing the similar, but every talented wants to be a rock star. And then I heard her, and I at that moment was still the old school classic rock guy that didn't listen to anything like after Nirvana. Grunge killed it for me. 2000, everything really changed and went all digital. And what is all this crap? What are you doing in my rock and roll? I was that guy. And then I met this kid, which opened the door to everything that I see now. I'm like, oh my God, it's the same. These kids, and I say kids, all the up and coming artists need help. And now I see how hard it was and what was happening, which we'll go back to what we were talking about right before we went live was, like you said, the radio.
Yeah.
With the radio. And to me, the radio changed with Napster.
Yeah, because I guess so. Yeah.
Kind of was you said that you started to do your gig in 1999. Is that what you were telling me?
Yeah, like obviously not this project, but 1999 was my first time I played out, like first time I played a show.
Where was that? Just curious, because
Dock Street, which on Bay Street, I think it's got different names. Well, before the 90s, it had a different name.
Yeah, because I don't remember.
Wave Street, maybe it might have called. Okay, yeah. So that was like the only place to play because I was.
Well, that's what I was going to say. You have suffered the time that I didn't get to experience firsthand down there when I left the island and the city. I say it's all the same. We had everything. When I was down there in the 70s and the early 80s, all those clubs in Manhattan were still thriving. Staten Island had clubs everywhere, and I was still too young to really appreciate it, but I knew they were there. I kind of just missed it. And then I heard, as time went on and I left, I was always into music, played in some bands. I was that guy. But I mean, I went out and I was never going to be a rock star. So I went on and pursued my other things. But I stayed connected and I wasn't into concerts, but I started to see death of it, so to speak, that were through the 90s, it really started to slide down and we were losing clubs everywhere.
Yeah, I think my experience, I think in Brooklyn and Manhattan, maybe things were a little bit better, but my experience on Staten Island is everybody wanted covers. Like if you were playing your own music, nobody wanted you to play. like there was a few places you had to find the places, but when I first started, I was only 14. So, which now people who do math can figure out how old I am.
I swear to God, when you said that, I said, "Whoop, she just dated herself."
So, but that's fine. But because I was 14, where I could go was limited. But for people that were older, it was just kind of like there was lots of bars to play at, but they wanted you to play covers. And you could throw your original in there here and there, but it was just even when I got older and old enough to play wherever I wanted, it was like, oh, okay, cover band. You can have the whole night. No, I want to play my own music. Oh, okay. Well, you need like 8 other bands and make a whole night out of it. And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
Now, you just mentioned something again, that this is a common thread that through literally every conversation I've had, and even these interviews that these chats that I started doing now, every band has said the same thing, no matter where they are. Some places, I think, a little bit more in the South, much more liberal and accepting, and they even seek out, what I call an artist. An artist creates their art. Your art is your music.
Yeah.
But up here, I get furious sometimes and frustrated, especially with some of these. Well, what are you doing to the music? Do you really think you're helping it? I know you got to pay the bills, and I know you want to sell drinks, and people are familiar with, they'll come. To me, blows my mind. I don't want to go listen to somebody else pretend to be, I can just stay home and listen to that, and scream out to Alexa, play blah, blah, blah.
Right. You can listen to Aerosmith at home.
Exactly. And
yeah.
It just drives me berserk. And these are the arguments I have with rock fans, which I think it's embarrassing to myself I like hearing, new bands coming up and cutting their teeth and honing their craft with those covers. That's what you do. That's what we've all done. It's usually a band that we fell in love with, or an artist that made you want to play, whatever it is. That's how it starts. And then you naturally start creating your own music. But this new thing over the last, and it's not just recent, it's going on for 20 years, 20 plus years. Well, like you said, every place is just a cover joint, and it's like a karaoke bar. It just makes no sense to me.
Yeah, I guess it's because, it's like you said, the bars want to make sure people will stay and drink. And I guess they don't have confidence that if it's originals that people will stay. Yeah. Like, so, yeah.
I usually out. I want to hear something I've never heard before.
I've accidentally ended up in a show of originals, and it's nice. Like I was at a bar recently, I don't remember, pretty close to before COVID, and I was at Nuremberg or Nuremberger or however it says in the bar in Castleton. And I was there for no reason to watch music. I was there like just hanging with people, and there was an original band there with and I was really excited because it was a female singer, and it was just nice to just hear something new. And I bought her CD, and it was nice. It was very like Janis Joplin-esque. It's kind of like in that genre. And people were just hanging out as if it was a cover band, because nobody's really listening anyway. It's just in the background while they're hanging out, like the jukebox. So, and everybody was just like, nobody left because there was somebody playing originals, like, so it was a nice night,
See, that's cool. What I did notice, and we'll go back to what happened last year. And I think this is where maybe that attitude, I hope, starts to change. And let me ask you, once you start feeling more confident and you're ready to go out and start playing live again, what is the temperature down there? Let's say, where do you mostly play, and where, have you been able to book down there throughout the city? Do you play in Jersey, I guess, too, or?
So as far as with Betyljoos, I haven't played live yet with Betyljoos. So, because the plan is to write all my songs, get them out there, promote them, gain a following on the internet, and then play live, which probably would have happened a lot quicker if COVID didn't happen. So, but yeah, I've a couple of projects ago, I played at the Bitter End in Manhattan. And more projects before that, I played in Jersey. Like the last time I played a show that was originals was probably like 6 years ago. Like I've played a lot live since then, but it's all cover bands. Like, cause I'm in a cover band, and sometimes I recently, right before COVID, I was in 2 cover bands. So I was playing live and I was playing shows, but they're all cover shows, so it's just, I'd like to play my originals, but it's kind of like, you kind of feel the pressure of, all right, well, if I don't bring 100 people,
Yeah.
the bar, and the thing is like, I have a lot of people listen to my music, but they don't live in the same place. Like I have people that they all live all over the place. So they don't all live on Staten Island.
That's the thing. And something
Yeah.
that I think, and this is where I start to blame the clubs and the venues, right down to the dive bars. Enough of the 2 things that drive me crazy. And this is me thinking as, I wish they would think more as, if you want to promote what you're selling so there's a future to it, you need to open your mind a little bit more. And look at more of it as a business. And I understand it's like we all do this. Sometimes it becomes right now, oh my God, I'm broke. I need $100. So you do what you got to do at the moment. But then you get that rut. And they've been doing that. Well, they see that, you're able, like I said, you got people coming to the bar, paying the cover, whatever, enjoying themselves, spending some money, and they're out of there. And I think they've tricked themselves into thinking that, like you said, is it the cover band and the music that they're familiar with? And they say they reach that comfort zone. I think there's this thing they called musical paralysis. You get trapped into just, which I guess is like anything. I call it habits. They label now. But I'm a perfect example of, once I was introduced to the new artists, I was blown away.
Yeah. There's a lot of talent out there, definitely. And, there's places where originals are being played. But it's just, when you're an original band, I feel like what ends up being is there's like 9 or 10 bands playing. You get 20 minutes, which is like 4 songs. You got 5 minutes to set up all your stuff, play your 4 songs, and then like you got 5 minutes to tear down so the next band can set up in 5 minutes. And and that was great when I was 14, but it's like part of the rush, but it's like, and it is cool because you get to meet the other bands, you get to make friends with the other bands, but just that whole like 5 minutes to set up, you got 5 minutes to set everything up, and you can only play 4 songs, depends on how long your songs are, but like 4 or 5 songs,
right?
It used to be a half hour, and then like it kind of got shut down to 20 minutes at some point. It depends on who's in charge, but sometimes I've done things where like I'll put the original band, they'll put it in between 2 cover sets. So like the cover band will play, and then while they're taking a break, the original band will come up and play their originals, but still it's like a 20-minute set. So it's really hard to get like a nice actual set, as an original band. I'm sure there's places out there. Like I'm not in the scene, so to speak, of people 15 years younger than me. I can only speak for what I can think about with people my age, so then maybe there's things going on that I don't know. But there was like a lot of places that closed down, like the Muddy Cup, which was like the full cup and the cup, and they kept changing its name, doesn't exist anymore. So like, there's just like a lot of places that don't, there's like maybe 3 or 4 places I can think of where originals are getting played, but it's that type of thing where it's like 9 or 10 bands in a row. But it'd be great if people came and watched all 9, 10 bands. They don't. That's the other thing.
Yeah,
they come, they watch the one band, and they leave.
That's the other thing. Even when you're lucky enough, let's say you're able to open for like one of the, a decent headliner, like these 80s bands, even 90s bands that are coming through again, and they're on tour and they're playing, they're not on the major tours. They're on the, let's say the bigger rooms, decent venues where you might get a slot, one of the 1, 2, or 3 opening acts.
Mm.
Most of the people call up and go, we're coming to see whomever tonight. When do you think they're going to hit the stage?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
This is true. Are you familiar with the place up here in Poughkeepsie, the Chance?
No, actually, yeah, I've been to Poughkeepsie because I have a few friends that went to college there, but I'm not too familiar with places.
Well, the Chance Theater in Poughkeepsie is one of those places that like everybody played there, all the way back to, into the 70s. It's a older theater, kind of something you would see, like almost like a small Gramercy. You know what I mean?
Oh, nice.
Kind of ornate, but really cool place. But I see people do it all the time, even there. They skip the opening acts.
Yeah.
They show up just to see the headliner, and okay, fine. But still, I love that story of, oh yeah, I got to see whoever. Or did you hear this band? Holy shit, they fucking blew me away. Even that. But even cooler is when a band that nobody knows makes it a year or two later, or maybe even next week. You don't know. And like, yeah, I saw them before they were anybody. Nobody does that anymore.
Yeah, you could be the person that said that. Like, oh yeah, I saw these people before. Like I know people that say that all the time. Like I know someone that's like, oh, I saw Chili Peppers before they were famous. They saw Chili Peppers open for someone that ended up not being so famous, and then Chili Peppers ended up being this super famous band. So like, and
Georgia, they were supposed to last year. Was that when they because they remodeled St. George Theater, right?
oh yeah, it looks nice now. It's
Yeah.
really nice.
I thought, and I know that,
I went there to see Yes.
yeah, they started having all those bands come back there, which was,
Yeah.
it's cool. That I'm fine with that. I call them gateway drugs because if there's a kid out there, today in high school, here,
Yeah.
bizarre, we went to the same high school if you didn't go to a Catholic school.
Oh, so I went to public school until high school. And then I ended up in Catholic school in high school because I got a scholarship. So my parents were like, you should go because of the scholarship. And I was like, okay, fine. And I'm sure you could probably guess which school it was based on where I lived. So, but yeah, I was not happy in private school at all. Like I was not happy. But I did meet, actually, if it wasn't for going to school, I wouldn't have met my first guitarist. So, and things maybe I would have met a different guitarist if I went to public school, but I wouldn't have met her. And my first band wouldn't have happened. So
everything happens for a reason.
Right? Exactly. Yeah.
Hindsight is 2020. It goes both ways. So,
but I hated being in Catholic school. It was just.
See that Catholic school has produced more rockers than anything else.
Yeah.
Pisses you off, and then you end up saying, that's what turns you.
No, I was listening to rock music definitely before. I think around 7th grade is when I started listening to my own, like what I wanted to listen to, except instead of like, because my parents were disco people. So I got like gypped out of all that classic rock. So, but like I'd say around 7th grade was when I started having a mind of my own, and I started listening to like what I wanted to listen to instead of what my parents were listening to.
That's two things I wanted to ask you, which is perfect segue, is what kind of music did you originally start listening to that influenced?
Like before my mind of my own, or when that happened?
What style of rock and roll? No, I mean, I know I don't want to put you back in that, but I would
Oh
imagine.
yeah, no, that's fine. So like the first 2 albums I owned were Goo Goo Dolls and Matchbox 20. So those were the first 2. So that was like 7th grade, and that was kind of like me. And then my sister had Third Eye Blind, but she never really listened to it, so I stole it. And then around 8th grade is when I started, getting, I guess, into that like how teenagers feel. So then I started listening to like Marilyn Manson and 9 Inch Nails and Rammstein and Korn and all of those, like Limp Bizkit, Tool, Seven Dust, Disturbed. So it was kind of like high school was like all of that. And then when I got to college, that's when I started going backwards. And that's when I started listening to like Led Zeppelin and The Who and all that. So I kind of like got into more classic stuff in college. So like in high school, if it didn't sound dark and it didn't sound like it could be in a vampire movie, I didn't want to have anything to do with it. So I like ignored ska. Like I had a lot of friends that listened to ska and punk, but like I ignored a lot of it because if the singer was like too hype, if it sounded too happy, I didn't want to have anything to do with it.
That's the way I feel about it. Like, beep, 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 beep. I'm like, okay, hey,
Yeah, like I appreciate a lot of it now, but like as a musician, when you get older, you appreciate stuff you maybe didn't like when you were younger. But yeah, in my high school years, it had to sound like death. Vampire. If it didn't sound, yeah, it had to be like full on vampire movie.
As a fellow, you said you went to Catholic high school, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as a fellow Catholic at that time, I could totally understand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we start to think for ourselves around there, and that's what happens.
Yeah. So
I never went to Catholic high school. I was public school all the way through, but it's those things that influence your thought process, and that it develops your tastes, and this is that we say is missing or was missing from the music is that when you hear the music, it brings out the emotion that you're feeling inside.
Yes.
The release. That's the way I feel, or that's what I'm going through in the lyrics, or just, that sound just makes you feel better because of that energy release at the same time while it's just pumping you up.
That's true. Yeah. And, you have people like, oh, how can you listen to that? Doesn't that make you more depressed? And it's like, no, that sounds like what I'm feeling. So now I feel better. Like, and that's what always kills me. Whenever they bring up Marilyn Manson causes people to do this, Marilyn Manson causes people to do that. No, he doesn't cause anybody to. In fact, like you feel better. If you feel like that, you feel better when you listen to that. He's not causing anybody to do music like that's not causing anybody. Just like video games aren't causing anybody to do anything. Like it's just like automatically, gets pinned on somebody like that.
No, if anything, it exposes it. Is what it makes you come to the reality of, instead of it being suppressed, that's the release.
Yeah.
They were saying that about, you go back to Judas Priest and Ozzy Osbourne's, all these songs. No, that's the connection. And that's the beautiful thing about rock and roll in general is you don't hear that much about other music. I'm not saying that it doesn't exist, but I think rock and roll has got more emotion, every emotion in it. Like you said, you could have sadness, happiness, glee, anger, all of it.
Yeah.
There. And I'm sure when you hear a song, it'll bring you back.
It's true. And like pop music, I feel like is either happy or sad.
Yeah.
Like mostly happy, but you can have like that slow song that's kind of sad that they throw in here and there.
Now, back to Betyljoos.
Mm-hmm.
When things start to progress again, are you looking to build a band around that again? See if you go out live.
Yeah, so like I definitely want to play a live show, which at that point I'll put a band together. Like I have enough people I know where I can find this person to play the guitar part, that person. Like when I'm live with it, I just want to be the front woman instead of front woman. So, but I just want to be the front woman, and have everybody else. This way I can, cause like my whole life, I mostly played bass and sang at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I can't run around, jump around, engage with the audience, because not only are you like stuck to, like, if I'm just playing bass, I can run around. If I'm just singing, I can take the microphone off the microphone stand and I can run around. But if I'm singing and playing bass, like I'm stuck at the microphone stand because I can't carry it because I'm playing bass. And then also I feel like one suffers. Mm-hmm. Like I'm better singer if I'm just singing. I'm a better bassist if I'm just playing bass. So like when I play in the cover bands, I just play bass. Maybe I'll sing backup. But so like, yeah, so I want to just sing this way I can like be free and engage the audience and really be like everything that is Betyljoos of the band. And then, have people play. So, I'll be getting people together to play a live show. It's just a matter of when, because like we have to have enough rehearsals, but it is in what I want to do for the future. It's definitely something that I'd like to do. And I think I know where I would want to do the live show too, but I'm not going to say it just in case it ends up being somewhere else. So, but there's a few places on Staten Island that have popped up that are newer, that are pretty cool and have become like hubs of new music. And there's a lot of good stuff happening along Bay Street. As always, there's always good stuff happening down there. So yeah.
It's good to hear, because I think going back again to, as a result of everything that's happened last year, I think COVID is the pandemic. I'm so sick of talking about it, but we got to keep, it's getting further and further, let's say, in the rear view, but
yeah,
leveled the playing field. Whereas the value, let's say, in new artists is starting to be recognized, and they can't ignore it anymore, especially in rock and roll. If you look at the Billboard charts right now, we talked about this a few times, where you're seeing there's actually more independent bands and labels on the top 40 rock chart than there are big music labels.
Oh yeah, because the big music labels are ignoring rock and roll. So,
and it's
but I mean, yeah, it's kind of like, but we're in a day and age where people are making it without being signed. So,
yep, and I think the value is. Last year with the loss of live music, they took a huge hit, because that's where they make all their money, is those mega stupid.
Yeah.
And where you're an independent artist, you go out, you got your merch. You're lucky you can make a few money, some money through the picture.
Yeah.
And you've got your money, you've got your music out there. I'm sure you use all the digital platforms. Correct?
Yeah, so I'm all on digital. I've had a few people ask me if I had physical CDs, but it's just not, because I don't have enough people that are just going to listen to a CD. Like everybody's listening to it digitally, Spotify, YouTube, iTunes. So it's pretty much everywhere. But yeah, so like I'm just excited that people are listening, and that's all you ever want as an artist. Like it's not about how many people are listening. It's just the fact that people are listening. And I don't care if it's 20 people or 200 people or 2,000 people. It doesn't matter. Like, it's just the fact that I made music and someone likes it is awesome.
That's an attitude that, to me, that's a genuine rock and roll attitude, because it seems to be like there's two types of let's say goals in this music. There's, do you want to be a rock star for tomorrow, or do you want to be remembered forever? I don't think it's okay. You're supposed to have an ego. It's okay to have one, but very rarely the flash in the pans, that attitude and just trying to make a quick buck never lasts. They're lucky, it happens. It does happen, but the legends that we're always talking about started very humbly, and they still have a certain humbleness to them. And
and that's the other thing. I feel like there's no legends right now. It's like when legends are happening, you kind of know they're happening as they're happening. Like you're like, this is, I feel like there's nothing. Like even in pop, I feel like there's really like, I don't know, maybe I'm just
no, you're not
old, but I feel like there's no like, there's Beyonce, right? But who's the next Beyonce? Like there's no like super legend. There's no Michael Jackson right now. There's no Prince right now. There's no Ozzy Osbourne right now. There's no Steven Tyler right now. There's no Freddie Mercury right now. Like, I feel maybe teenagers might disagree. Like, I guess Billie Eilish is like the closest thing to, she's super famous.
Right now.
But like, yeah. And like, but one thing I never thought would happen in high school is I never thought Green Day would end up being like legendary.
You know why? Well, here's something, and this is something we've dissected it, and you nailed it when you kind of like questioning what you're saying. No, what's the definition of a rock star?
Hmm.
When's the last time we had one?
Yeah.
Genuine rock star. Now, there's been some really good bands, let's say between whatever that last one, and I have one in my mind. When was that last mind-blowing, let's say, band or artist who not just made change, uh, they forced a change in the music, culturally, became a household name even for people that didn't listen to them. That kind of like people
Yeah.
don't even listen to Led Zeppelin. Oh yeah, they're that band. You know, they might have
Right.
they have like an idea. There's an awareness of
I guess Nirvana, right?
it. You know,
That's like the last time there's been something new, brand new. Like I think everything, even, what I play is there's no brand new genre. Like, yeah.
there's bits and pieces, like all the, and it's starting to happen. It's gelling.
Hmm.
There's a new sound coming out. Can't identify it. Like my favorite quote that I made up for myself is, I can't tell you what rock and roll is, but I can tell you what it's not.
Hmm.
You know, when I hear people, and this happens a lot now, if you looked at the Billboard charts, let's say over the last 10 years, and you see what the top 10 are on albums, and then you listen to it and me as a rock fan, I'm like, what the hell are they doing? Are they destroying the music? But that's what the
Yeah.
labels are selling to try to get the kids to listen, at least more of the kids to listen. But I think there's more of the younger generation, and it's very evident on TikTok. I was going to ask you, do you use TikTok?
So I just signed up for a TikTok, but I haven't posted a TikTok yet. So,
I'm going to steal something of yours and I'll post it on my TikTok.
okay, yeah, I don't have it. I haven't posted anything on TikTok yet. Like I'm still trying to, like I was telling you before, like I mostly do Instagram because I haven't figured out Twitter. So,
Like
it's not that I know how to use the app, but I just kind of feel like, what am I gonna say? Where like Instagram, I've kind of like, okay, here's my photo and here's like everything I want to say today. But like, I don't have like one-liners to put out on Twitter. So it's like,
I don't. When I was starting to try to grow this, my mission was to. There was nowhere. The biggest, and we'll go back to what we're talking about again with radio. There was nowhere to find the new music in one spot. Like I grew up. You grew up also. You were still, you're young, but you're still old enough to remember maybe when you could turn on the radio and hear something new.
yeah,
At least,
I used to have my cassette tape in the radio ready to go. So
okay,
I didn't have to pay for it, the
there
song.
you get it. You understand.
Yeah.
So, but like I was saying before, when I grew up, it was WPLJ. For you,
Mm.
WPLJ played the 90s music, right?
Yeah. Like for me, I listened to K-Rock. That was the station.
It's 92,
It was,
3.
it was 92.3. Yeah. And then when they got replaced by a pop station, that was it. There was only classic rock stations left over. Like there was
104.
Q104 and DHA, and PLJ was still around. And then I think 106.3 was modern songs, but they weren't as heavy as K-Rock. Like they were playing more alternative stuff. Like, and then that was it. There was no K-Rock to replace K-Rock when that disappeared.
That's what I've been trying to tell people because, like I said, I get to interact with people now all over the world, and I get a taste of what's going on. And I always use New York as it's a center. It's New York. So if it's not happening here, you know what I mean? We used to be right now. The UK is doing a hell of a job supporting, let's say, the up and coming artists. But I just went in with the attitude of, well, let me just try to make a thing. I didn't even remember my Twitter account password. I made it years ago, never used it, and then forgot. But I got it started, and I bait and switched everybody with some classic rock stuff to get followers. But then I started to slowly turn it more and more to now where it's 100% new music, not much fluff. And all I do is I put out new music from the bands that I find. I get tons of music sent to me. Not all it's good. Some of them it sucks. And I say it like it is. They ask, well, I'll get an email and can you play our music? Can you listen to it? Sure. And what's the requirement? I go, it's got to be rock and roll and it can't suck. I mean, that's just, this way, I don't want to ever mislead anybody. If it's
Yeah.
bad with production or something. I don't want them to send. I had a lot of music that was sent that was really cool, but the production was horrible. And I said, I can't do that to you because people are going to call it out. You know,
Yeah.
those impressions. But so that's what I use Twitter for. I don't use it as, I was doing polls and stuff, just trying to get people to interact. But you got to get down to the what your end game is. And listen, if you follow Keep Rock Alive, please give the new music a chance. And I've won a lot of people over. I'm not saying it makes a big difference, but that's just what I want to do as a rock fan. I want to see, like what we were talking about a few minutes ago. When's the last time we had a legend?
Yeah. Nothing. Yeah.
It hasn't. And you
nobody there's super famous people, but in my opinion, no legends. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you could argue maybe Foo Fighters, Lizzie Hale, and those kind of bands, Hailstorm.
Yeah.
They're great bands, but we haven't had the one that the other side is afraid of yet.
Like like when I was, in 4th and 5th grade, and like Mariah Carey was like really big. Like she was a legend, and she's a legend still, but like you knew she was a legend as it was happening. Like it wasn't like a surprise, like 20 years later, okay, she's a legend only because she's still around 20 years later. It's like you knew at that moment, like this is a legend, like happening right now. Even though I was 10, like you knew, like it's like
even though you were 10 and you could be a rock and roll fan, when you heard her, you were like, wow.
Yeah.
You got everybody's attention. That's what makes it.
Only back in 5th grade, I was back in 5th grade. I basically was a Madonna and Michael Jackson and Prince fan.
Right.
So, which I still appreciate them, like, and then, like I said, 7th grade is when I started listening to other stuff. But like, I was very much like loved Madonna and Michael Jackson and Prince. Like they were like the top 3. But I said I didn't have access to classic rock because my parents didn't listen to it. So had to discover it on my own as I got older.
That's okay. That happened to me. My let's say formative rock years really became junior high school. And it happened at the same time that punk was happening in Manhattan, CBGB, all those bands that you hear about, Ramones, those typical New York City punk scene, which I would, but that's at the same time when I discovered AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, I love Jimi Hendrix, which made me want to play guitar. Before that, I was listening to the Beatles, rock and roll, my father loved, and he listened to, this, CBS FM, back the oldies, and that's what I listened to, because my family's still down there, probably still have the same radio in their repair shop in Udall.
Wow.
My cousins. That's what I grew up listening to. But it gave me the ear for the music. It gave me the ear for rock and roll. And then when I started to hear the heavy stuff, which was a birthday gift, Kiss Destroyer. And
there you go.
But I hate Kiss. I did it.
I know a lot of people that are super obsessed with Kiss, but that's another thing. Like Kiss, like there's no Kiss right now. There's no band as big as them or as big as Queen. Like there's nothing that big. Like there's super famous people that are really talented, but they're not gods and goddesses. Like basically, like And
I say it this way also, that in 50 years, who are these kids now, like us, or I say me, going to be talking about? Like, are they going to be talking about Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish? The other one, I see this driving me nuts when you see like what's going on in these award shows with them.
Oh,
I don't want to even get into it because then you get accused of being whatever. And I'm like,
I haven't watched the award shows lately.
it's a joke. Okay. It's really just, I
guess it's because like what I'm listening to isn't really involved.
No, and it's the
like
same.
Rock music's not involved. So
that's the thing. That's why I pay attention to what's going on. And I say, if there was ever a time for rock and roll now, after everything that's happened in the last year and a half, rock and roll has always been the answer to something major happening in life.
Yeah.
In the 60s, it was war. You know, what you see going, kind of things that nothing's really changed, but it keeps happening in these waves. And rock
Hmm.
always follows it. Led Zeppelin did it.
That's true.
Yep. Black Sabbath, when they, basically the argument is they created heavy metal. Yeah, that first album was that sound, and that, Tony Iommi with the power chord changed everything.
Hmm.
And everything that followed through the 70s. Then you come punk was the answer to, the kids that were just tired of the glam shit that was happening.
Oh,
The natural response to
it's
disco,
the opposite.
the absolute opposite, right? Punk music, fuck you.
Right.
Loud,
Was where
blasting.
Nirvana was kind of like the protest to guitar solos.
Yep.
In the 80s, it was kind of like, let's strip everything down. Yeah.
You absolutely, you're seeing this and then you are spot on everything.
Hmm.
All the debauchery and partying went to like a darker sound, and we are who we are, and you don't like it, screw you.
Yeah. I'm
That's,
just going to wear plaid and
and just
not wear any makeup and just go on stage, like whatever. Yeah.
and that's really, that was the whole, they say grunge didn't have a look. Well, it didn't. That was the look. It didn't
The
have
look was
a look.
no look.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But then after that, and this is where I think like the last band that caught my attention in the 90s was Pantera, because I liked that kind of sound.
Mm,
And then I
yeah.
gave up. I gave bands that you see, you're younger, so you grew up with it. I had to like force myself like on bands like Disturbed.
Mm.
I wanted to like them so bad, but something was missing. And I just completely trapped myself.
I think what probably is missing is when you listen, music was freer.
Mhm.
And so like they tell you things like, oh, when you write a song, don't write an intro, like make sure your lyrics come in right away at the very beginning, because you have to catch everybody's attention right away. They're not going to listen to the rest. But like, back then that wasn't part of it. It was, this is the song I wrote. Oh yeah, there's a minute long intro, but it's amazing. And here it is. Like, and each instrument was like doing its thing, like to the fullness of what that instrument could do. And it wasn't, okay, well, we can't play something too complicated because then nobody's going to want to listen to it because it's too complicated. And we want to make sure we sell as many records as possible. So we have to simplify this, and verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, boom, and so I think that's definitely what's missing from when you go from the 70s and the 80s and you go into like later music, was just the freeness of not caring, I guess, as far as I have to make sure I write a song that's going to make the most money possible every single time I write a song.
That's true.
Where I think maybe there was more artistry. Not that it doesn't exist anymore. There's definitely a lot of artistry that exists, but I think the norm is catch people's attention right away. And if you don't catch people's attention right away, the song isn't worth it.
It's
So
true.
yeah, but as a young songwriter, you're like, well, I don't understand. This band is famous and their intro is 30 seconds long. And why is it okay that their intro is 30 seconds long? Like, why can't I have a 30-second intro? Like, why is it bad that my intro is 30 seconds long? It's like, what's the difference? So
But it's something that I like. I can still listen to, and it's starting to happen again where you're seeing albums, which now have kind of, and for a lot of reasons, costs a lot of money to record an album now.
yeah.
And with the way that, and this is what I wanted to mention before again, I keep backtracking. Like you were saying recently, who's going to be the next legend? Why isn't, because music times out in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Like and I ask people this question: what was the number one song last year?
Nobody knows.
Nobody has a clue.
Yeah. I don't know.
Nobody's ever going to look into it again. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
usually you say, you always remember who wins the Super Bowl or World Series, whatever. Music, there was always that song that reminded you of, I remember the summer 86, and then a song will hit you in the head, not anymore.
You're like, I used to listen to the same song for like weeks, months, like maybe even a whole year. I'd listen to this. Well, that's the other thing too, is, it was $20 for me anyway, anytime I wanted to buy an album. And so like you saved up and you went to the store and you bought this album for $20 and then you listened to it forever. Like
And
where now it's like you can pay $10 a month and listen to any song you want for free 24/7. It's I guess it's not the same like um as far as like, there's when there's a bigger sea for you to listen to.
Yep.
Where like I had that one CD and that was the only CD I had until 6 months later when I bought another CD and then I had two. So, so it's just like, yeah.
that's true. And that's what it's something else where they, we talk about devaluing the music to the point where now they just look at us. This happened in Europe last year when all the crap happened, and people were looking for help as artists. Everything else was screaming for help, and also, let's say, the Save Our Stages things, and that was happening and getting help from the government. And I hope they kick it back. Again, going back to what you said earlier about something everybody agrees on is that they, 90% of these clubs want cover bands. Well, I hope they start helping now the artists. We did our part. Everyone's doing their part and we do need those stages. We don't want to see them go away, but please do two things: be more accepting to bringing up, take a little risk, and maybe be that, we remember when such and such played and broke at such and such.
Yeah,
because do that anymore.
Like I have those memories, like, of island bands, like, oh yeah, I used to play at this place. Don't you remember those bands that used to play this band, that band? Oh, you were in that band. Oh, that's cool. And I'm sure that it happens now with kids that are in high school in the band. Like, I don't know, because like I am not listening to, you know what I mean? Like I'm not going out to clubs. Nobody's going out to clubs right now, really. But but it's just like, yeah, it's just, and even as an artist, it's more fun to play your own stuff. For me, I'm sure there's people that love playing covers. Like I like doing covers where the ones that I've released, where I take a song and I like completely change it and I make it like something else because it feels like art. Where I feel, to me, playing a cover song is like eating broccoli. It's like, okay, all right, well, let me play these songs. And, it's like, yes, I still am having fun because yes, I'm a musician. And anytime I get to play music, it is fun. But, it's kind of like when you're at the restaurant, it's the vegetables on the side of the plate that you don't want to eat. It's not like the meat and potatoes is the songs I write. That's what I've always wanted to do on stage, but yeah.
That's why I hope they start to work together. And again, your music that you're recording now, I see what you're doing. You're taking like the look. It's the look, but it don't sound like the look.
Yeah.
You made it your own, and
which is fun. It's so much fun to do that.
And originally, when I first started talking to you and I was asking about doing this, I thought you were, a band, and then you told me that you're doing this all on your own. I thought, wow, now I really got to talk to her. Because there's a lot of work in that. People don't know.
Yeah. So yeah, the look was 95% me. So yeah. So it was just kind of like, yeah. Yeah, it was so much fun. Like I have a couple of others I'm working on too.
I think I just read you got a couple more coming out or working on them or coming out.
Yeah, they don't have a release date yet. I have an original that's done, but I don't want to release it on its own. I want to put one more original with it and release them both together. So I'm working on a second one. And then I have a cover that I'm finishing up and a cover I'm done, but they have to finish mixing and putting it together. So the next cover might come out first before the next two originals. So, but this is like the next original song is one that I've been working on for 2 years. And no matter, it's one of those songs I should just put it out there because it's like, I'm like, oh, I still don't like it. I gotta like, you end up hating your own song, I'm sure somebody's going to be like, oh, wow, this is really cool. But I've been listening to it for 3 or 4 years. So I'm like, eh. So But so that's why I'm going to release it with a second song just in case. So
Everybody, if you're not an artist, if you're just, they call it a consumer of music. Like we were talking about albums earlier. Again, in the 70s, like you said, it was art. An album was a story. It built, it wasn't, there was a lot of thought put into an album. It's not just 10 songs thrown on the same medium, whatever, I had vinyl, which is cool. It's coming back again.
I think that's really cool. Yeah.
I stopped at Generation, off topic, well, on topic. I was in the Village last week and I stopped at Generation Records down the street from the park. And I'd never been there before. I'd known about it, but never. I walked in, I'm like, I go, there's more downstairs. No.
That's awesome.
But they got everything. And you could smell the vinyl.
And I think,
but
oh yeah, it's really cool. I've been seeing on Instagram too, like purple vinyl and like blue with like lightning bolts. And I'm like, that's really cool.
They can do everything. I mean, I remember picture discs, which I could never understand how they did it, but they did it. Like, this shit. And they press these things. But yeah, I mean, the art, where you said there were we went from that art created the legends. Like, to me, I'm not a huge Pink Floyd fan. I think The Dark Side of the Moon is the greatest album ever recorded. It's just mind blowing, on so many different levels.
I think I'm in the same boat with Pink Floyd. It's like they're not my favorite band, but I 100% appreciate everything they've done.
Oh, it's
like
crazy. Yeah. The Wall came out, I think, when I was in junior high school. And you might be right. I don't even know if it's still there. Is the Kmart still over by the mall behind what you call it?
No, I don't think we have a Kmart anymore.
It's gone. But I'll never.
Yeah, it might be a Target now.
All right, everything's something.
Yeah.
Walmart or whatever. Because I haven't been over that area for years. Last time.
Yeah, that's one thing that Staten Island does not have a Walmart.
Yeah, it's crazy, right?
Because everybody protested, which is cool. Like all of the small businesses were like, we'll all be out of business if there's a Walmart. So they were like, we don't want you. So
kind of like that. If you ever saw the episode of The Simpsons of the big box store.
Yeah.
Everybody protested it, but then they all went there. Well, I think Homer got a job there. Was it they've kind of done a scoop of that on everything, South Park, all of it. But they all end up working there and they all end up shopping there like zombies, and they finally blow it up. They nuke it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, but it's great.
I think the equivalent to that might be Amazon.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, talk about all the pieces being set with, if there was no online shopping, like you said, you can order from Stop and Shop now and have it dropped at your door, and it's changed everything.
It's crazy when you think about even 10 years. Like, I feel like every 10 years technology takes a big leap, but I feel like the leap from the 60s to the 80s or the 80s to like 2000 is not even close to as big of a leap as 2000 to now.
No.
It's such a big leap. Like in 2000, I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have the internet. Like I had my own phone line in my bedroom so that people didn't listen to me. but
well, you
people would current teenagers would not understand, like, my own phone line in my we didn't even have an answering machine. Like my parents were we didn't have a DVD. We had VHS still in 2000. My parents I had a CD. My parents still had their record player. Like, so when you think about it, it's wild. It's so wild, like how much has changed. And even my first recording was in 2001, the first time I ever recorded. And that's almost the same experience as far as basement recording today versus basement recording then. The experience is almost the same, but the technology is so much better.
basement recording back then was the Panasonic cassette recorder with the microphone plugged in if you had that, or
Yeah.
just a condenser mic. That's the
Well, I
same.
think in 2001 we recorded, somebody had Logic in their basement, which was cool. So we recorded onto Logic, which was awesome. And that was fun. It was just so much fun he had like a vocal booth, like his whole basement was set up. So it was fun to be 16 and be like, oh yeah, this is fun. I'm in a recording studio, but yeah, the outcome technology is so much better. Like the effects. Okay. So for instance, I wanted to put chorus on my voice. So in 2001, instead of pressing a button to put chorus on my voice, I sang through a chorus pedal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, so, I was like, oh, what if I plug my microphone into this and let's see what happens, and I should do that again because like, I really liked that sound. So, and I used my backup vocals all had this chorus pedal on it. So
it's kind of like music now is like, how far can you travel away from the earth, make a U-turn and come back?
yeah.
Seems like, like you said, the technology has gone so far, and I had this discussion, I forgot who I was talking to just in the last couple of days about Pro Tools. It was saying, oh, it was some stupid meme about Pro Tools, like, and they showed George Martin, that's what it was, at the console, Beatles producer, and manager, I should say. And he was a genius, for the 60s. And what they did was amazing. And he did more with 4 tracks than you can do with Pro Tools.
Yep.
Okay, well, technically, yes. What was done was magic.
Okay? Mm-hmm.
And with what they had at their fingertips back then at their disposal, they were amazing. The things they did, like you even heard like John Lennon talking about, they had the tape running through 5 different rooms just to get those loops and stuff. And
oh yeah,
things they were doing. That's just like you said, the same way you took a chorus pedal and said, wow, what would happen if I plugged my microphone into this? And what, that's the same idea. You were experimenting. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it works, sometimes it's cool, sometimes it's not. But Pro Tools is fucking amazing. For what it does, it really is. And it would never, had you guys not had that in the last year and a half, everyone would have been sitting at home freaking out. Well, what are we going to do? Playing.
Oh yeah.
You would never have been as productive, anywhere near as productive as
nobody would have.
Right.
Even other regular businesses, like how many people were able to work from home?
What if this was 1985 and we still just had the home shopping club on cable, and all of a sudden they said, oh, by the way, you're not going to be able to leave your houses for 3 months.
The home shopping club would have gotten a lot of orders.
Yeah, for what? The cheap jewelry they had back then and stupid stuff. But
yeah, for 1995.
My God, you would see. I crack up. I remember the old, and it was so goofy. But
a lot of aerobics videos.
Oh God, all those things was steps to what we have today. I mean, it's like anything else. We went from beta to VHS to DVD or D to Blu-ray to now you carry literally every technology we've ever thought of or experienced. Like I said, we went from the moon in 1969 to everything is in your pocket now.
Yep.
Literally
it's crazy.
Everything. And the only thing that I said that to these people was the only thing Pro Tools can't do. Like you can make music so perfect, it takes the soul out of it.
It does.
And
it's funny because my recording engineer, he doesn't want to make it like a computer. So like, we make it nice and neat and clean, but like sometimes we'll leave something like it might have been if it was live, just to like give it that soul because but then like then you get people that are appreciate it, and then you get people that are like, oh, you didn't clean that up, and it's like, well, I don't want it to sound like myself copied 5 times as a robot was playing. Like,
what do they call it, Linda? Is it quantization? Is that the
something
name?
like, yeah.
Where
And
they
then you like everything.
perfect, like the drum
Yeah.
is not like bing, 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 bing. It's almost
Mhm.
or whatever the click. But like I play drums at night just to screw around. I play bass, whatever. I just love doing it. And Rick Beato, I watch him a lot because he's kind of old school. That also lives off the new school. He knows we need the new technology, but he understands all the changes, and he says it in a very simple way. Back in the day, if you break those songs down, like he took a few songs out of from AC/DC or Highway to Hell, and then Back in Black, and he said, if you count the beats per minute through the song, it's always varying.
Mhm.
You may not, but you feel it.
Mhm.
That's what the drummer was feeling at that moment. Those little things are maybe a hair off center. Where he says you can take Pro Tools and that'll center all that, but it takes the soul out of the song.
It doesn't sound the same. It doesn't sound like people are playing it.
Exactly. And we're starting to see that come back, even through the technology. It's weird. Again, it's like we've gone as far as we can, and now we're coming back again. And you're getting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the younger artists are getting it.
Yeah. And I guess like a thought that just came to my mind is like rock was never meant to be pop.
Mm-mm.
And pop, yes, everything's quantized and everything's lined up, and because it's not meant to sound like a band is playing it.
Right.
Rock was never meant to be that. It was always meant to be, whatever, like the protest or
Right. I said
or the teenage angst or just whatever is going on. It wasn't never meant to be like, this is this perfect thing, here you go.
Accept me for what I am, the way
Mhm.
and what I said was the perfection in rock and roll is there's no perfection.
Yeah.
It's what
Even vocally, like there's a lot of like great vocalists in rock, and they're definitely amazing vocalists, but like if you take somebody that's like a pop fan, they might be like, oh, that's not a good singer, even though it is, because it's a totally different style,
and it's real and it's not auto-tuned.
Yeah. Oh, auto-tune. Yeah.
And they're talking about, again, that thing, well, it's got to sound perfect, but what is perfect if it's not real?
Right. There's a difference between, oh, I made a mistake, let's fix my mistake, and not sounding like a human.
Right. A glaring mistake. Well,
yeah.
One of the most famous mistakes ever that got the kid in trouble, and you mentioned him, you were a fan of him when you were young, that his father flipped out and the producer said, leave it in. And it's the most.
Oh, Michael Jackson?
You know exactly what I'm
As
talking
soon as you said father, I was like, oh, that has to be who it is.
No. But do you know which song I'm talking about? And what line? Just look over your shoulders, honey.
Oh, okay.
It's supposed to be look over your shoulder, honey. He's 10 years old at the time, I think, when they recorded that. And he just look over your shoulders, honey. And his father screamed at him. They said, no, leave it in. And now everybody loved it. That the young kid, they just adored it. And that's what was the focal point of that song.
Yeah, sometimes mistakes turn into something good. Like I can't think of examples, but I know I've had that happen in my own recordings where like something happens by mistake and you're like, oh, well, you know what? That's not the way I wrote it, but let's leave that in because that might actually be better than what I did originally. So
it happens all again, and the emotion and the how many songs we've heard the stories of. It was the song that oh, come on, feel the noise, quite right. They hated it.
Oh yeah, isn't like Led Zeppelin Stairway to Heaven? They didn't write Stairway to Heaven to be like this epic song, right?
No,
I'm correct. Like it was just a song, and then like it just like ran away.
Yep. Well,
yeah.
In a God of DeVito was recorded in a bathroom, and it's really supposed to be in the Garden of Eden.
Yes.
of that.
Which I love that bass line. That's a fun bass line.
But those are all the things that how many of those stories that we have to talk about, like in the last 20 years? Some cool stuff. Like I mentioned Foo Fighters, because Dave Grohl is he's like a great ambassador.
I would say he's getting to legendary. Yeah, he's pretty legendary.
He really is. And you just hope they really are who they are. And I think he is, because of what he went through and on a thing, and how when he talks about it, you could see it in his eyes. And, he went into, and they said, well, I forgot how the story, let's put a band together again and try to start something or whatever. And he did. And,
it must, I can't even imagine what he went through. Like,
he was the guy in the background, like, who was thinking at the time, I never noticed Dave Grohl in Nirvana. You know what I mean?
Everybody just Kurt Cobain. Yeah.
You immediately, relate Nirvana to Kurt, and I respected it. I wasn't a huge fan, but I mean, I love that's what we're missing was, where's that altar to what's happening. And again, if there was ever a time for a band to just show up, or somebody, or a type of music in response to what we've gone through, I don't give a shit what anybody says. Rock and roll is perfect, but I say to the bands, do it. I don't know how to do it. You guys do it. I'll play it or share it, listen to it, but get mad.
And I think people still want rock and roll, like, and rock and metal, and because when I go to shows, there's all generations at the shows. Like, I was at Slipknot, and there was people 10, 15 years younger than me at the show, and there's people 10 years older than me at the show. So if people didn't want to listen to it anymore, there wouldn't be anybody younger than me at the show.
It's true.
They wouldn't be there, so I would be the youngest one there, but there was plenty of people 10, 15 years younger than me. So people want to listen to it, just that the radio stations have to realize that.
Again, I try to say it this way, that we've come this far without mainstream music helping us. When I say mainstream, I'm talking mainstream radio, mainstream media, and big labels, Sony, Universal, blah, 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 all down the line. And that's great. The days of the old success story, I call it the wonders. The guy finds you at the pizza parlor or something like that, or hears you at a roller rink, all those old stories of, making it and getting the big record deal. That's unrealistic. That hasn't happened in so long. I don't know how many big contract label signings there have been in, let's say, the last 10 years. I think it's on one hand, maybe. I don't know, but it's not a lot.
No, probably not.
But it's proven that it can be done without them now. And I think they're scared. And they're good, because I try to curb my mouth, but fuck them. And then now they're worried. Don't take anything from them. Keep doing it this way, because the tide's going to shift. But I don't want to keep you. We've been going an hour and 20 minutes. So if there's anything else you want to say, what's coming up, what you got planned other than the obvious, let me know.
I just want to say thank you to anybody out there that might be listening to right now that has listened to my music. Especially, recently there's been a lot of people that have really been supporting my last couple of releases. And the latest release was released last Friday, was the cover of The Look. And, there's definitely a lot more that's going to be released over the summer and later on, and hopefully a live show soon. So thanks.
Cool. This will be played and replay indefinitely on YouTube. Like I said,
awesome.
Just stay on until we log off. I just wanted a couple things I wanted to touch up with you off the air. So, but I usually wrap it up with the last question.
Okay.
I found out that this I thought was the simplest question. Turns out to be tough for a lot of people. Let's see how you make out. If you had your choice of your ultimate dream collaboration with an artist or a band that's here or gone, past or present, I usually ask for one, but I give you up to 3 if you really get. Sometimes you get a whole bunch flooded. Who would it be? Dream collab.
Oh, let's see. I really appreciate Incubus
Mhm.
in their artistry, like for all their songs. I think it'd be really cool to like collaborate with them. Someone from the past, like I've always like admired Prince, and he's definitely up there as like one of my favorite musicians. So it'd be cool to like, have been younger, been old, been older to be younger back then to have collaborate, whichever way you say that.
These are period.
And let's see. Currently, I'm a really big fan of Cell Dweller, which is like totally different genre.
Really?
There's a lot of like electronic going on in there, but like that's like when I'm driving, that's what I listen to the most currently. Like it changes every couple of months. So yeah.
Oh, I didn't get to talk a whole because I don't do reviews or anything like that. I let the music speak for itself. I put it out there. I don't give any real hints as to what it is. I go, like it, follow the band, buy their merch. I'm like the middle guy.
Mhm.
But I hear a lot of different influence, even a little bit of that in your music. It's
Thanks.
rock, but it's got a lot of different ingredients. And that's why I'm like, wow, this is cool. And I really got to listen to it, because I do want to post your music. What I do is I go through and I break out a good chunk. Like what you're saying before about like big intros.
Mhm.
Now we'll lose somebody. Like if I posted 220 on Twitter, you can post 2 minutes, 20 seconds of a video. So that's what I do. I just music, videos, or just links to like the YouTube music, whatever it is. And when I do it, if there's a long intro, I chop it off because I found out I lose those people. They won't listen through it. They
It's
want
true.
instant gratification. And so I hit them right in the face. I'll find, something that, just grabs them right away
Mhm.
to try to get them to listen. But that's it. So, all right. Don't log off yet. I'm going to say goodbye.
Okay.
I'll post some clips for you over the next few days, Instagram, whatever. I'm going to send you a copy of this for yours. I don't do any of that trademark crap. Like I said, I do this as a hobby. I love doing this. I love the music.
It's awesome.
All right. As for everyone else, I finally found someone from back home that makes rock and roll. They do exist. It's like the M&M's commercial.
Yeah, right.
All right, guys. I'll catch everyone later. Hang on one second, Linda, while I log out.
All right.